Happy Sunday, happy mosque day, happy church day, happy synagogue day, happy temple day, whatever religion you are or are not. Happy Sunday. All right, what have I got for you today? I've got 3 movies that I'm going to rank. They're part of the same kind of remake series. So I have Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond. Okay, so these came out in sequence. So the first one, this one came out in 2009. This is the first of what Hollywood is doing, as I understand. I've kind of paid attention to this series as it came out, and it's kind of like they're taking the old Star Trek, what's my experience with that? When I was growing up, they would have Star Trek reruns on TV, so I'd actually just watch it on TV. So that's my familiar, and that was when I was growing up. So that was kind of my familiarity. It was around in childhood, and then these came out. And so this was 2009. This was the first remake. I was kind of under the radar when it got released, and I showed it to my parents this year, and they hadn't seen it before. So it's, and they both like the original Star Treks. So it's, yeah. Then we have the 2013, so 4 years later, Star Trek Into Darkness. And then another 3 or 4 years later, I think, it's like somewhere between 2015 and 2017, is Star Trek Beyond. So this is the third one. So I'm going to go over them a little bit. So the first Star Trek, I think I was my rock shaking job when I actually saw it. So I saw it a few years after it came out. I was a little delayed. In actually seeing the movie. I think I was aware of it when it came out. I was still in high school. And then I had a job where I literally shook rocks, volcanic rocks, and to do grain size analysis and stuff. And so this was one of the movies I watched for when I think I watched it like when I was at work, because I literally just shake rocks. And so I put a movie on or listen to music, because all I do is this for hours on end. Really great arm workout. Geology is great for physical and mental. That's an example of a very physical job. There's like tracking of like I'm making measurements as I go and stuff. So it's actually very cognitive too. But there's a strong physical component to it versus like coding, which is just sitting at a computer. I had to stand up and actually use, yeah. I'm getting distracted. Point is, this is kind of relevant for Vulcan and Vulcans. Like I study volcanoes, and Vulcan, the word comes from actually the language of my ancestors. Vulcan is the word for volcano, and like the god of volcanoes / god of fire in Roman. So I'm part Roman, and that comes from my ancestry. And so Star Trek is an interesting one because they kind of pull from a bunch of different ancestries, and I'm like, it's interesting to see fictional portrayals of, or at least name usage from my ancestors kind of thing. And so I liked it. I thought it was good. I liked it the first time through. I thought it was funny. All 3 of these movies are funny. It's really well paced. All 3 of these movies, I highly recommend all of them. I give all of them 5 stars. They're all really well paced. So the action is at a good clip where I'm able to put things together as it goes. So I'm not really kind of blindsided by anything. But it also isn't too fast that I can't put it together, or too slow that it kind of feels like it's dragging on. So that's kind of that. Did I have any? So I gave 5 stars. I'm trying to do a ranking here. Was there any detractors? Yes, I think it's caught my attention kind of every time I've watched it, is they do these shots, and this is like a very Hollywood thing. They zoom in on the actors' faces, like it's a dramatic moment, so they'll zoom in on the face of the actor. And I think it's good and bad. It's good in that like each character gets their kind of like headshot. They get their moment in the movie. However, it kind of detracts from the viewing experience. They dwell a little too long in their shots, and it doesn't necessarily fit with the fluidity of flow. So again, I gave it 5 stars. but it's just not my style. So that was the first one. The second one, I think, other little thing. I think the villain could have been better portrayed in this movie. This one, Star Trek Into Darkness has my favorite villain. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Khan, and he does, like, I don't know, I saw this movie and I was like, that's a hot man right there. Like, Benedict Cumberbatch as this villain. I'm like, he just stole the show. This is like, the best thing about this movie is the villain. I think, in my perspective, okay, again, I am a volcanologist, I'm a geologist, and it starts off with a volcano scene. I'm actually a kind of a cool volcano scene that's not about invoking fear in other people. So it's like, in the world of Hollywood, that is extremely rare to get people to do like volcanoes as interesting, which is like, people actually spend their careers working on volcanoes because they're interesting, not because they're terrifying, like me. And there's a lot of us. And so for Hollywood to actually get a modicum of that right is like, huge deal. It's well paced again. I think they still kind of give each character their moment, but the execution is much better. Oh, also note, I have worked, so the nuclear core in this video is at the National Ignition Facility at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, which I have been to for nuclear physics work. So it's kind of cool. I've been to places that they used in the literal filming of the movie, and it's actually, the National Ignition Facility has the largest laser in the world. So it's really cool because I'm like, they get kind of my work right. I've been to places that are literally used. It's not a green screen, it's the actual location. I've been there. They do, what I think they do really well in this one is the headshots or the zoomed in on the characters, they give it, they still do that, but it's out enough that it actually provides context. And then that's kind of the problem I had with the first one, was if it's just the person and they're supposed to be in a ship, but all I can see is the person and I can't like make out the ship, it kind of defeats the purpose of highlighting this person as a role of a crew in a ship, when if you zoomed out an inch or two on all sides, I'd be like, okay, this is a really big guy on the ship. So this movie gets it correct. And they also do a whole lot better job of getting the scenes right. Like I can tell, I know that the movie was filmed at this place I've been / worked. And I can tell from the movie what it is. And I don't even need that priming to know where it is, kind of thing. So they did that really well. Star Trek Beyond, I think they go too far the other direction. Yeah, I think it's good. It's really good. It's really the action and kind of the action scenes. I'm not necessarily a fan of the music used in this one. This is the only one of these that might get hit on music choice. The action scenes are really good. This is also, I think, the villains and this character could have been better cast. So it gets a couple dings on casting. The action is good. The music gets a little bit of a ding. It's music that I don't necessarily like. Not for all of it, for some of it. So that kind of gets to, the movie itself is good, but it's kind of like I have to, grin and just get through that music kind of thing. So not necessarily my favorite in the music, not necessarily my favorite in the villain either. But they get the scenery shots and the action, I think, on some levels much better than the other movies. So, how am I going to rank these? Well, I think my favorite, this is Hot Man as villain, and Hot Man as villain that steals the show. I've actually been to places where it was filmed and they do a good job portraying it. This gets a modicum of my work field correct of volcanology. This one, this is my number one. So Star Trek Into Darkness, this is the second in the series, so there's 1, 2, 3. Star Trek Into Darkness, second one, the second one is my favorite. my second favorite is Star Trek. So this is the first one. Yeah, I think I think because, in part because they don't get necessarily the close-ups right, but at the same point, I also appreciate that because that's helped my videography kind of like in just reflecting on, this bothers me each time I watch this. How could I not do that for my own stuff? So I think there's actually a growth component to that. Like, it might not be my favorite, it might not be my favorite villain kind of portrayal, but it still works, kind of thing. And it gets me thinking about those things. So in that sense, it's mentally stimulating. So I give all these movies 5 out of 5 stars, or 10 out of 10 stars. And then Star Trek Beyond is my third favorite, or least favorite if I want, but out of these 3. It's the third in this series. It ranks third because of the casting, and then casting and music. And it's when I rank all of these 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10, those little teeny tiny things that just I don't like, it does matter for ranking, and so it's the third. So 1, Star Trek Into Darkness. 2, Star Trek. 3, Star Trek Beyond. That's my ranking order.